Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on weird and true mysterious stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 1406, written by Warrior Kalis, the Rainfall Wizard. This was many years ago. Me and my best friend, now my brother-in-law, had walked to the mall along the train tracks one summer day. A good, just guessing here, 10 miles away on a straight line. Going there was not bad. It was cool enough in the morning that it was comfortable. We spent some time at the mall and tried to call for a ride with the payphone, but could not get through to either of our parents. So we decided to walk home. By the time we started walking home, it had gotten much hotter, and as a heavy-set teenager, I was struggling. Well, as we passed by a home that was having a pool party in the back, we heard a weather report of a severe storm coming. Not 5 minutes later, the sky opened up and the rain came crashing down. Now, the rain itself was a godsend, and I was feeling much better as we continued down the tracks back home. It was about 10 minutes after the rain started before it happened. In a 10-foot radius around us, it just stopped raining. Both me and him stopped, and the circle just stayed on us. When we started up again, it moved with us. We actually started walking back towards the mall and it moved back with us. We walked for a good 15 minutes with no rain falling on us before the circle disappeared and we were once again soaked. I have no idea how to explain that. Case answer file 1406, the Rainfall Wizard. So there is a weather phenomenon called localized precipitation, where rain can seem to target a specific place, almost like a water gun from a child. But this is the inverse of that, more like a tiny eye of the hurricane. Could I believe this is a natural weather phenomenon? Maybe, if it didn't follow the both of you. You went back, you went forward, it always followed you. That's targeted. Was it perhaps some advanced test of technology? An experimental weather device that could actually control the direction of clouds or how they precipitate? One way or another, if it's technology or nature itself, something was controlling it. Bonus file written by ADragonsMom, our cat's strange behavior in the dead of night. When I was fairly young, maybe 8 or 10, I was hanging out at my grandma's house. My mom was in the living room, falling asleep on the couch, bundled up with all the dogs. She was talking to me, trailed off, and promptly fell asleep. Now the staircase is right behind the couch, and is open to the living room before it meets a small platform at the top which has 4 doors, 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a closet. No one had been up there recently. My mom falls asleep, and for a few seconds I start to respond to her. Then I realize she crashed out, so did the dogs. Then I heard scratching from the upstairs right-hand bedroom. I got a really dreadful feeling, but figured that Mom earlier must have gone to get something out of there and accidentally locked one of the dogs in there. So I look at the couch where they all are and 1, 2, 3, 4, no, all the dogs are laying with her. Even weirder, they're not up in arms about this very loud scratching. These dogs will bark if the wind blows, but they were sound asleep still, even with this continuous scratching. The dread I was feeling got worse, but I crept up the stairs, and when I got about halfway up, the scratching stopped. I froze for a few moments, and it started again. I went the rest of the way up, onto the little landing, and confirmed that it was coming from one particular room, the one on the right. I had thought at first that it might be a mouse, because they can be extremely loud when they think that no one is around, but sitting there, waiting to open the door, I could hear where the scratching was on the door. It was like a quarter of the way up, and it was heavy scratching, as if a coon was trapped in there or something. I built up my nerves and flung the door open, only to see nothing there. I flipped the frick out. I don't know why, but as soon as I opened the door, I was screaming and crying. My mom woke up and met me halfway on the stairs that I was fumbling down. To this day, we hear scratching and knocking in that house at ungodly hours of the night. My grandma passed away, and an elderly family friend has been staying in that house. He went and bought cameras because he would hear people in the kitchen at night, and the lights would be left on even when he was absolutely certain he had turned them off. He's old, but his mind is still sharp. I trust him in that. He also has a cat now. And now, years later, the cat wants into that upstairs room. He doesn't care about the others, but if that door opens, he's in that room before you can even see him dart up the stairs and under your feet. And he goes nuts in there. His eyes dilate, he belly crawls around, he lays on his back and claws at the undersides of the bed. He literally spazzes out and will race around the room in circles. The only other place he does that is the basement. And what do you know? The other night, my mom and I were coming up through the field from the pond where we had been hanging out with friends, and that room light and all the basement lights are on. No one had been down there or up in that room for upwards of a week. The family friend doesn't do stairs well. No one else has been down there, and it's all locked from the inside. The last person in that upstairs room was me. I was there about a month ago using his Wi-Fi. I'm very meticulous about turning off lights, and I'm certain I did when I left, because I remember trying to keep the cat out and fumbling for the switch at the same time before getting the lights turned off. I don't know what's with those rooms or that house. The house isn't even old. My grandparents almost finished building it right before my grandpa died of a heart attack in 2001. My mom said she spread some of his ashes in the walls, ones that weren't 100% finished before he died, and still needed to be drywalled. I wonder if he was there, or if something else was. Questions for the bonus file. The strange cat in the dead of night. Ah yes, ashes in the walls. Never heard of someone doing that before, but I guess if you want to stay really close to someone that you loved. But it would explain why he was bound to that spot, although the common theme in most fiction is that burning the remains would release the spirit from this dimension that was bound to his own remains. Maybe that's false? Or maybe you do need to have salt as well. If that's the case, we should alert all the crematoriums to include salt in their process, just to be safe. Thing is, the sounds you all heard, my guess is your grandpa is there in the spiritual plane, between ours and the beyond, unable to affect this world much, but is training, trying to master his ability to influence the living world. Maybe time itself doesn't pass at the same rate too, which is why from his perspective, there isn't much going on, but from ours, it seems like constant repetition in the same place, like scratches on the door. The slight wrinkle in this theory is where you heard the scratches on the door. Why practice it so low down on the door, a quarter of the way up, instead of his natural height, unless he was extremely short, but I don't think that was the case. And now time for the quote of the day. To predict the behavior of ordinary people in advance, you only have to assume that they will always try to escape a disagreeable situation with the smallest possible expenditure of intelligence. Friedrich Nietzsche. Ah yes, the smallest amount of expenditure of intelligence, or also energy. Humans seek out the path of least resistance. That's common throughout all of human history. It's very rare to go against that. And to be fair, we wouldn't exist if we didn't have that instinct. It's preserved our species. Don't knock it, even though you have to try to adapt against it in modern life. And much in the same way that you want to go out of your way to hone your body through extra stress by running, by lifting weights, to the same end, you want to hone your mind by adding stress to it. Challenge yourself to debates, read books. Always test your brain, push it as far as you can, because that will develop it. And who doesn't want a powerful brain? That's just fun. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell. Kinetic Symphony signing off.